we are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us. There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. I'm in an undisclosed location in the southwest portion of Las Vegas. Back at the studio is the infamous Goes from MySpace. That's what he was known for. Now he's our all-star co-host. Of course, Dan Tom, the best fight analyst in the game, joining him. Back east, Danny Oakers, a.k.a. Danny Otto. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good.
I'm a little bit annoyed right now. Because, let me tell you, George, I can never tell the difference between fake news and real news now because people are getting so good at putting together fake stories. But I think I'm looking at a live feed from Channel 2 in New York. A bull is loose in Brooklyn? Oh, yeah. He is loose. See him there, Dan?
Oh, wow.
Wait, what?
A bull? A fucking bull? Look, oh my God, he just took down a fence and took down somebody standing behind the fence.
Was that Greenpoint?
Where are you watching this, and why don't
It's
I
like
know
a Facebook live feed. But this bull is just, dude, if I'm these people behind the fence and I just saw him tear down that fence and take that guy out, why would you still stand there?
I'm guessing that's Prospect Park, but I'm trying to think of any like zoos or where that thing came from.
Didn't they have like a snake loose one time in a Brooklyn zoo too? Like, do you guys not know how to handle zoo animals?
I don't know. Usually I was just navigating through bums and like random street altercations when I lived in Brooklyn, but that was Bushwick. I don't know.
What kind of bums? Sterno bums?
Just dudes that like would pass out in front of the stoops in front of
Like
my apartment. I don't know what they're. I shared like my food with them though if I had any. Like
hobos?
They were nice enough.
You don't have any bums? Yeah, there you go.
We gotta take care of the local ones, right? Because you never know. I don't know how it works. It's like feeding the local cats, right?
What about the vagabonds and the vagrants?
Vagrants.
George is the king of bum references.
What do you do about drifters?
Reminds me of the Big Lebowski scene the cops are talking about.
I'm watching Goes. I actually pulled
So
up
it's real.
ABC News, and there is a bull. They call it cow on the loose, but I see horns. And there are people that are probably, let's see here, this is a soccer field. So just past midfield on this soccer field, and they are just kind of walking about. One man's wearing a tie, so he's all dressed up. He does not look to me like he could, maybe the bull's been tranquilized. I don't know, but that's not a safe distance to me.
Yeah, no. I don't mess with bulls, man. Even though I think I would do the running of the bulls at one point.
Mm-hmm. If you're watching ABC, I just don't really see how they would be putting up the fake news. So the fake news goes, you know what I do now is if I am on Facebook and I see something that's just, doesn't sound right, Snake talks for the first time or whatever, if you look down below, it usually has to do with a website that's not really one you'll recognize, much less it's accredited. Oh, wait, it is a cow. Those aren't horns. Those are just his ears flapping.
I don't like videos where you're staring at it and then all of a sudden something comes out and scares you. Those get me too, and I get blood red mad when that happens.
The ones I don't like are you'll never it'll say like
oh, I know what you're talking about.
It'll say like Ginger from Gilligan's Island. You'll never know what she looks like. You won't believe it now. Yeah. Something. Ooh, let's see what this hottie looks like. I remember her, but you have to click through like 20 pages of other people that have changed their appearance in the last 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And so obviously they're getting my clicks, and I'm falling for it. And there's an interesting one or two, but I'm like, just get me to Ginger for crying out loud.
And 30
and
Noxzema
sometimes I make
ads.
it, and sometimes I'm just over it.
Yeah,
Excuse me?
30 Noxzema ads too. You got to get through, and then the one that I don't like is, and you'll never guess what happens next. Oh, just tell me.
So that right there's your clickbait, and I'm doing less and less of it, and I'm reading a lot of articles on just how attached people can get to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, which I love to partake in, but I love to partake in spurts where I just see what everyone's up to. I'm looking for good news more than the bad news, and it just seems like there's so much bad news that you almost when you log off, you're in almost a worse mood than before. So who knows? I may have to start just doing lists or start the unfollowing, because there's some abusers, that's for sure. But anyway, look, fun show we have ahead of us today. We have 4 guests that are confirmed, a couple others that we dangled the carrot. We'll see if they go for it or not. Damian Norris, he'll be fighting at LFA coming up here on Friday. I think they're up to LFA 25. Mohammed Usman, who is sibling to Kamaru Usman, he'll be on our show. He'll be fighting at Tachi Palace in a few weeks. Heavyweight there. Younger, bigger brother of Kamaru Usman. Rob Font, a good friend of the show. He travels to Sao Paulo. He's on the Lyoto Machida Colby Covington card. Anna Julaton, she's back in action. She'll be fighting in MMA. Of course, former professional boxer. Has that type of a flexible contract where she will be allowed to box. Her first outing, however, for Bellator will be this Friday at Bellator 185. So we'll catch up with her. Sprinkled in between then will be us covering the news, talking about the Poland card, Bellator, of course, the card with Anna Julaton on it, and taking your calls at 866-522-2846. Also, why don't we had an idea, we were talking about MMA history today, and some good ones got posted yesterday after the show was over. But, if it wasn't that big of a deal, I think we just glance over it. We took it as a day that maybe nothing of note happened. But upon further review, when I was looking today to see if there was anything, for today, I looked and saw there was some great ones from yesterday. You want me to do it, Danny, or you want to do it?
You want to go back and forth? I can start and take one.
Yeah, do the first one. What's the guy with the belts? That was a good one.
I don't see that one. The first one I see, the furthest one back that I see is October 16th, 2010. Carlos Condit shows how dangerous his hands can be when he knocks out Dan Hardy with a left hook.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Didn't they both connect, like Rocky and Apollo?
Yep.
They did. Yeah, and Carlos beat him to the punch. That got Carlos, I believe, his title fight. And that may have been one of a 4-fight skid that Dan Hardy got. So I thought that one was a pretty solid one. Then there was 21-year-old Vitor Belfort displays his hand speed. Now, Vitor Belfort, if I'm not mistaken, I have too many windows open, but I think he's like 39 now. But this is when he knocked out Vanderlei Silva in 44 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's a quick one to find. It's pretty easy, folks. If you ever want to go back and see these two legends fight, it'll only be 44 seconds long. And, I mean, Vitor just blitzes him. Vanderlei had yet to begun to even make his mark in the sport. He didn't have a good run in the UFC initially. Then he went over to Pride and became a legend, an icon. But he really did start off in the UFC. And then eventually he came back to the UFC. And, of course, now in the last few years he left on bad terms. And now he fights for Bellator. But we all know him as Pride legend Vanderlei Silva. He started off in the UFC. It didn't go well. He lost to Vitor Belfort. And he also lost to Tito Ortiz. But that happened on October 16th, 1998. Which one you got, Danny? Which one you want to take next?
October 16th, 1998. 19 years ago today, the UFC brought its first event to Brazil called Ultimate
That's
Brazil.
Right. Yeah, and that's the one that I referenced with Vitor Belfort and Vanderlei Silva, they were on that card, and wish I knew who else was on the card. Maybe one of you guys can pull it up, but that was them going to Brazil, calling it Ultimate Brazil 19 years ago today. That is crazy. The other one that we saw was Michael Bisping returns to British soil in 2010 and defeats Yoshihiro Sexyama Akiyama. Unanimous decision on that night, and I'll let Danny take the last one.
These are all, most of these are from the same event, because 19 years ago today, Pat Miletich defeats Mickey Burnett to become the inaugural UFC welterweight champion. Aren't these all from like the exact same thing?
This is all in Brazil.
Yeah, it goes. Yeah. Is that where that happened?
Yeah. So the main event was Frank Shamrock versus John Lober, and then Pat Miletich defeated Mikey Burnett. Vitor Belfort defeated Vanderlei Silva. Pedro Hizzo defeated Tank Abbott. Let's see. Yeah, those are the big names. Wow, Pete Williams is on this card too. Jeremy Horn.
Jeremy Horn got submitted. Ebenezer Braga. I remember going back to watch that one.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Some good names there.
So that's definitely a historical card. Lots went down on October 16th, 1998. Follow MMA History Today at MMA History Today. If they post theirs for today, we'd love to share it. We'd love to share what happened in the history of mixed martial arts on October 17th. I can tell you that on October 17th, 2003, Max the JRT was born. So happy birthday to Max, the JRT, the Junkie Radio mascot, who is prominently displayed at the studio from time to time. He turns 14 years old, and he's sitting right next to me. He's laying down right next to me as I broadcast the show from an undisclosed location in the southwest of Las Vegas.
He knows it's his birthday, too. He was acting that way.
He does, yeah. They make dog birthday cakes, right?
They do, yeah.
I wonder if it would fit his diet. We're going to have some guests come on soon. So I want to jump into this so we have time, just so that we don't run out. But what seems to be the big news is Chris Cyborg. Remember I told you the other day that, when she posts, she tends to come off like a fighter who's just, high maintenance. The other day she was blasting the UFC because she was stating that the UFC wanted her to fight Holly Holm in a title defense for less than what she fought Tanya Evinger in the inaugural featherweight title fight. And, I will admit that doesn't seem right. I don't know where Cyborg was in her contract or how that one works, if she's already a pay-per-view star or not or what. But, yeah, I would have to agree that on paper that doesn't sound right. You would think your pay goes up a little bit, even if it's 20-20 and now it's 22-22. Or if it was 50-50 and now it's 75-75, or whatever it is, it would seem to make sense that the more fights you have in the promotion, the higher the pay, especially as a champion who will probably get, I would think they get pay-per-view points, and she's defending. But so she puts that out. I just don't know. I'm not so sure that I agree with going that route. Who knows? It could be that they've been butting heads for 3 months behind the scenes, and finally she decided to get more public about it. But either way, you put that with some of the other stuff we've heard. Even Brian Stan's been vocal in the past, and it just casts this little shadow on Chris, where just I don't know. Maybe he seems like a whiner or a complainer to some. But her latest is she points to the drug testing going on. She got tested recently, and she passed. And what she's saying is she would like Holly Holm to undergo the same type of testing. Now, she didn't get too specific along the way, so Holly Holm pushed back earlier today, and it's been really, really catching fire on social media and on our front page of MMA Junkie. But she did a video saying, hey, listen, if you go to the USADA website, you don't have to go very far to realize I've been tested 9 times this year, you've been tested 8 times. So there's the scoreboard right there. Of course, since then, Cyborg has pointed back and said, yeah, I get that. What I'm saying is, from here until the fight, can we please be tested the same amount of times? So, anyway, I'll go first. I have some thoughts on this. I understand what Cyborg's saying, and no matter what, anybody has been trying to lambaste her on her previous test, her having less of a leg to stand on. I hear their points. Obviously she's the one that is going to be scrutinized a little bit more. But what it boils down to, Chris, if you're listening, is this is random. Now in the past there have been, I think, Hendricks and GSP, they've undergone testing where there's an agreement and it's pretty much equal on both sides. But under USADA, it's random. So she may get it every day until the fight, and Holm may only get it once. Or it could even be vice versa, or it could be 8-3 or 5-4. But I understand putting the demand out there, but that's not. I don't believe that's the way it works with USADA. And Holm has, she's batting 1,000. She's never had any issues at all. So I'm glad that Holm pushed back a little bit on this. And at the same time, Cyborg went on to say that the Jackson Wink Gym has had their fair share of troubles. So that's why there's concern on her side. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's a silly argument for her to have. I think it's a waste of her time. I think it's a waste of Holly's time. It just really doesn't make much sense. And especially really coming at the gym, because there's so many gym members involved in the gym. So to really put that on like a blanket over the entire gym, I don't know that that's fair. I don't know that she would like that if it were done to her towards, let's say, Brazilians or something like that. Such a big blanket. It just seems like kind of like a silly argument. But the fight does need something, right? They do need to build it up a little bit. I just don't know if this is the right route to go.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a waste of time for an argument. I don't know if it's one of those things where you have to ask yourself, when fighters go public with things, is it a ploy for negotiations? But this kind of seems neither here nor there. But in regards to the negotiations, that's what I want to be the fly on the wall. Like, what's going on with Cyborg and her management to where there is something that, quote unquote, like George said, always complain about? Like, what's not being taken care of at the negotiating table? Because complaining about things like USADA, which is its own argument, and I agree, I'm sure it's not the best process to go through, but everybody has to go through it, and those are the rules as they are right now. So I don't see why she's arguing this, and I am really curious to see if they really make a diligent effort, both the UFC and Cyborg's management, the next time they come to the table, to make sure none of these issues are even an issue anymore. Do
you guys believe that these tweets are legitimately coming from Cyborg, or is this more of a management team thing?
Sometimes I do. I think it's been very evident that her boyfriend Rael does some of them, and he's admitted as much. But with the admission that she's right next to him, he wants to put out the proper grammar, the proper context. But then there are times where you read them, and it does look like a Brazilian-born lady who's just starting to conquer the English language. And so I do believe some of them come straight from her, and some come from somebody in her camp. All right, Ian McCall joins the Ryzen Bantamweight Grand Prix. Want to let the audience know that we will be talking to him. There was a chance for possibly today, but it looks like that'll go down tomorrow. Benito Lopez says he'll be fighting Albert Morales at UFC Fight Night 123. Jason Knight has said that he's fighting Gabriel Benitez at UFC Fight Night 123 in Fresno. And Will Brooks says he's fighting at UFC Fight Night 121. He has been reassigned to Nick Lentz. So there are some of the latest fight bookings, if any of you are curious. Poland's Salim Tuari replaces Jim Wallhead versus Warley Alves is another one. We're going to take this quick break, and when we come back, we will talk to the first of many guests that we have today, Damian Norris. Stay close, folks. We'll be right back.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Tomorrow at 3 Eastern, SiriusXM brings you a pair of games from soccer's Champions League. Here, Olympiacos face Barcelona on Fox Sports. On SiriusXM Channel 83, Celtic takes on Bayern Munich at SiriusXM FC Channel 85. And of course, those two encounters are dwarfed by Manchester United facing Benfica. And I will provide that information for you, for all of you that want to watch that game on the television. All right, folks. Damian, pretty boy Norris will be joining us here in just a sec. Let me give you some of the stats here. He's 9-2 overall with 4 KOs, 2 submissions, and 3 decisions. He will be facing Alonzo Martinez Friday at the Ralston Arena in Omaha, Nebraska. This is LFA 25. The fight card is headlined by Dakota Cochran versus Chiro Rodriguez. Joining us now on the hotline is Damian Norris. What's up, Damian? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Welcome to MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George, Goes, and Dan. So where you at? Sounds like you're in a car. Hello?
Phone's on. I was trying to see if you guys could actually hear me. My bad.
Yeah, no problem. I was just curious. Where you headed to? Like a practice, or are you driving to the event?
No. I'm actually still in California right now. I'm training out of Alpha Male, but I'm actually at work right now. I remember the last time we talked, I told you I was doing finance. So I used to work for Audi Corporate. Now I work for a bigger corporation. So.
Hey,
right, I remember that.
I have a question for you since you brought that up. The other day I said Audi, and somebody said Audi's a belly button. It's pronounced Audi. That's not right, because every commercial says Audi, right? It is Audi, isn't it?
Yes.
No, it's Audi.
It is Audi. Yeah. Okay. I was getting... Dude, people were coming at me, man. They were saying Audi's a belly button.
Oh, wow. I never heard that.
I can't wait to stick it in their faces.
Get them.
Thank you, Damian.
I mean, the commercial themselves, they say it.
Yeah. All right.
I used to say it the opposite way until I actually started working for the company, but that's the way the owner presents it, and that's the way it's pronounced. So it's Audi.
Oh, I can't wait to stick that in people's faces.
And I bought an Audi since then as well, by the way.
Oh, really? Nice. Did you end up leasing? So I remember you said you wanted to go into leasing it.
I did. I did end up leasing, and it's been running great. So I'm really happy, man. They have great follow up, and I've been going in there and I've gotten some comp services because we had a hot summer here in Vegas. So they wanted to make sure the fluids were topped off and just always keeping on top of it. So yeah, man, I'm really stoked. All right, Team Alpha Male. That Team Alpha Male. Let's talk about that. I mean, that team, to me, when it comes to a lot of the lower weight classes, they're just it. For a long time, I felt like a strong rival of theirs was Nova União in Brazil. Of course, they've had a little bit of a fall off, but can you talk about, although Mendez has been out, Faber retired, Dillashaw moved on, what's, I guess, the new core, and what's it like under the new coaching staff that has now established themselves for about 18 months?
Well, Chad is out, but he's still training. He's a hell of a fighter. He's a great fighter, a great athlete. I can't wait for him to show his performance when he does come back. He's still working really hard. He has solid performance. But the coaching staff, it's one of the best in the world. I love it. I love the different transitions. You can kind of pick different styles. You got Justin Buckles, Danny Castillo, Fabio. The list goes on. We even have Faber that we could do one-on-one training sessions with. So, and I try to utilize all of them. They're great coaches all over the board. You can work on all different styles, and sometimes you don't even actually have to go. The cool thing about Alpha Male, you don't even have to go to some of the coaches, to be honest, to do one-on-one training. You could actually just do one-on-one training with the top-notch wrestlers, to Muay Thai, to kickboxing. So I'm typically working with wrestlers, hands down. So we'll have like Alex Munoz or Clay Guida, for instance. I've known Clay for probably 8 years now, so I've always worked with him, but I've been working with Alex Munoz, which is the head wrestling coach but we kind of go back and forth. I work with stand-up, he works with wrestling. So it's a cool transition when you can have other athletes that are the top prospects that are coming up that can actually just trade ideas and build off each other. It's not ego-driven, I guess you could say.
Back in the day here in Las Vegas at Extreme Couture, the gym had a really special feel when Randy Couture was fighting, when he was in camp for a fight, I should say. Or Forrest Griffin had become a world champion for them, same thing. So otherwise, it was always a great field. It was always great practices, but it was some special energy when one of the two world champions was in there. So now that Cody Garbrandt is training for this world title fight, is the same thing happen over there where the vibe, the energy is just a slight bit higher? And has that been like infectious to everyone else that's also camping right at the same time like you are?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are hyped for Cody's upcoming fight. We even also have, to be honest, I'm hyped. I'm fighting on Friday, and then we have two more guys fighting the day after me in Poland. I got Andre Fili and Josh Emmett are both fighting. So I'm more hyped like that. The team just keeps going on. It's not jealousy on Cody. I want to be in his situation. I want to be a champion one day. So it doesn't hype me up. It's more, I'm driven by the team having success. But yes, the entire gym is hyped when he's around. But more in my eyes, I'm looking to obtain a title. So I'm more driven on my own instinct and fights ahead of me.
But it almost sounds like you're talking like you guys are in the same weight class. You're not.
No.
Okay.
I know. It's not. That's why. It's not. We're not the same weight class at all. It's more like I want to have what he has. Like when I see him, I am working a great job and stuff like that. But one day I want to be an athlete like him that can, train full time because I love the sport. But I also like money, so I'm always working. So I have a finance job, like I said. So I do want to be able to put that aside and actually be, training full time because I love the team. So that's what's more driven on me.
Damian Norris, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's got a fight coming up on Friday, folks. You know that the LFA cards can be seen on Access TV, and if you have DirecTV like Goz and I, it's channel 340, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Let me send it over to the guys at the Mandalay Bay. Guys, what do you have for Damian Norris?
Damian, that guillotine that your camp is known for, how many times did you get caught in that in the beginning training there, and how long before you mastered it?
I would have to say I probably haven't gotten caught in a guillotine in a long time because my first loss in my amateur career and in my pro career was a guillotine. So I actually don't put my head in that position ever. But for me, getting it, it took some time. I'm working on a choke series with Uriah Faber, which is awesome. It's all different chokes from the guillotine to the Kimura. It's basically all transitions from the neck position. So it's kind of cool, but I'm still working on it. But I'm doing pretty well at it. But I'm still trying to get it down where I can just have the flow and just catch it every time. I know I can get it, but it's more just trying to get the actual flow where you just don't even have to think about it. It just kind of locks into place.
Gotcha. Who in the gym would you say has the most influence on you?
I would say, man, there's so many athletes. I kind of mimic a lot of the fighters. I steal a lot of their styles. So I would say mentor-wise, I would say I always look up to Faber. He's a great coach, has a lot of knowledge. It doesn't even have to be about fighting. It could be about investments. It could be about a business that helps them make money. And then I'm always looking at wrestlers. I got Alex Munoz. I got Darren Elkins for the type of heart he has. And it's so hard to put him down. So just keep coming. And then you got, Sage Northcutt that comes in here with a lot of athletic skills, which is really hard to go with him because him and I together, we both have Taekwondo styles. So it's kind of like a stalemate style. So, but he's a great training partner, so he kind of keeps my speed up on point. But really, there's so many athletes. It's really hard to say.
You know, Damian, I like that you're talking about styles and whatnot because when I was watching some footage of you fight, immediately I was like, oh, this guy's a Taekwondo guy. I have a background in it myself. And I love seeing more guys from, whether it's Kempo, Karate, or Taekwondo, being able to take these traditional traditional martial arts and meld them into MMA. And I saw, a picture of you on your Instagram with Sage and even, Yair Rodriguez, another guy that comes from that style.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any tips that they were able to give you, or do you maybe even have your own philosophies on how to bring, these styles into the game that you play, that is MMA?
Yes. So, for instance, Sage is a power style of Taekwondo. Karate style, he's more hit thrust type. And Yair and I are kind of like flyers, I guess you would say. But you see Sage doing the tricks and stuff like that. That's more of a form base, but his fighting style is a lot of force into it. Yair and I are, I guess, jumpers. You could say, with a lot of our strikes. I haven't really thrown a lot of spinning back kicks and jump kicks, or I can run off the cage and kick somebody, but I haven't had the perfect setup. But the transition is very hard. When you come from a Taekwondo style, you're all about feet and movement. It's really hard to transition your boxing into wrestling, and it did take me some time to do. But once you actually get it down, I think it's the perfect combination if you can mix Taekwondo with wrestling and jits. But I would say even just wrestling and Taekwondo, when you can stop a takedown and you have the stand up to back it up, it's kind of hard to stop you.
Damian, I got one question here before we wrap up. Again, thank you very much for your time. Are you in any way a Cubs fan?
I think you asked me that last time, actually. I am. I'm happy that they're winning, and I'm happy that they're in the same scenario as last year. But I'm more of a Sox fan.
Okay.
I'm Southside. But
I
am happy that
they're gonna bust your balls a little bit because they're down 2-0 and they play tonight. That's all. But yeah, I think you did say White Sox for you.
Yeah. I'm happy that they're doing what they're doing and actually getting in there. And I did read that they're down 2, so hopefully they can actually win. They always get their comebacks, so they definitely deserve it. The owner, they're rebuilding the entire Wicker Park area and Wrigleyville area, so it's more business for that area. So in Chicago, I no longer live there, but I see what they're doing. Wrigley Field is beautiful, so it's more income for Chicago, though.
Yeah, and just to follow up on Dan's question, who are some of the Taekwondo fighters that you've enjoyed watching, that have had a lot of success in mixed martial arts?
A lot of people compare me to Lyoto Machida. I really like his style. I mean, Anderson Silva's also had that kind of style. He's kind of adapted to all different styles, but a lot of his strikes, he is a counter striker, kind of like a Taekwondo fighter. So I would have to say Lyoto Machida more because he has that karate style, which he was more aggressive with his fights because he's very dangerous with his striking. He's more I would say if I would change something about Lyoto, I would tell him he needs to press more because Lyoto is a very good striker, and I love his style. But Yair, I love his style. Even Sage, I love the tricky styles. So those are, I would say, the top 3, and I've only been able to work with 2 of those people. I would love to work out with Lyoto just to see how his movement is, because I love seeing different styles of Taekwondo fighters and how they actually move, because the speed is there. A lot of the Taekwondo style is based on speed and strike accuracy.
When you were in Chicago, did you ever go up and train with Anthony Pettis?
No, I didn't. I actually tried to go to the gym and just got rubbed the wrong way by Rufus. So I have friends that are over there. I have Asif, I have Bilal Mohammed. I was actually looking to be a part of the gym, but Rufus kind of rubbed me the wrong way, so I made the transition over here, but would love to work out with him, though.
What did he do?
It was just the vibe just kind of threw me off. I just didn't like the transition, and then the training regimen didn't make sense. For a pro class, it's only 1 to 3, and that's the only pro class. So I need more training than that when it comes to being able to work out with the athletes. And at that time, I was working full time, so it just didn't make sense. So.
Oh, I see. So the scheduling kind of didn't work out. Yeah,
basically, yeah. I actually like the gym. It was literally an hour drive for me to go up to Milwaukee. But I have friends that are over there. So. But
rubbed the wrong way almost sounded like there was a personality clash, whereas in this case it sounds like the scheduling didn't work, right?
It wasn't that. It was just because I came in on Saturday. Typically when you have new fighters coming in, it happens at every gym. It's not like bad-mouthing the gym, but anytime that you come to a gym, everybody thinks you're going to try to take somebody's head off. So I think I cut one of his pros that were there on Saturday. So it was more aggression on top of that because one of his pros were fighting. I don't actually remember who it was, but I accidentally cut him on top of his head. And he wasn't wearing a headgear, so, if he's a pro, he should be wearing headgear. But it was on accident. I think I caught him with the elbow or I believe it was a knee. He might have ducked into it. And we were just kind of play sparring. And I didn't mean to, but I think that was what kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it was I was getting yelled at by his assistant. So I didn't actually talk to him. So, but I think it's a great gym. I would love to work, with them. I know Pettis is working with one of my wrestling coaches that I used to work with, is Izzy Style, which is a great wrestling coach as well.
On the way out of Milwaukee, you yell out, "Chicago, bitch."
Yeah, right?
Or Dub Bears.
I'm not that type.
I know. And actually, Duke's cool. This is the first time I've ever heard anything where something didn't work out. But all right, you gave the explanation. We understand.
You don't have to go hardcore. We're deep dish, baby. You can say that on the way out.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm on I-90 going for pizza.
One other thing here on our way out, we're running over here. We got to bounce. But who do you like between Till and Cowboy? Those are two great stand-up fighters, and they headlined Poland, the Poland card this week. Who do you like?
I'm gonna actually have to go with Cowboy. I feel like the experience is going to overtake. The other kid, I love his aggressive style. It's Till, correct? You said?
Yeah, Darren Till.
Yeah. I haven't really watched a lot of film on him. I have seen a lot of his highlights. I've seen a lot of his. I've never seen his actual fights one by one, but I've seen his actual highlights. He looks like aggressive style, but if you watch all the highlights that he actually has, he throws his cross maybe 100 times. I love that he has the power to, just sit people down on the cross. But Cowboy is in his 19th fight, for UFC.
Oh, no, he's higher than that. Oh, yeah, you're right, because I think I read stats that combine WEC. You're correct, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be an experience thing. I feel that Cerrone's going to overwhelm him. Yes, you can hit Cerrone hard as hell, but come on, you watched him when he just fought Lawler. He was taking damage and just kept coming, So, and that was a great fight. But I really feel that experience is going to take this over because of you can't repeat. And I guess you can say this is the way I was trained. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if it's working for him to throw if Till can work and beat Cerrone by just throwing high flurries with a big cross at the end, yes, he'll win. But I really feel like he's going to have to change up his game plan to stalk down Cerrone in this fight.
Damian Norris, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He fights Alonzo Martinez at LFA 25 on Friday. Damian, hey, always great to catch up with you. We always cover a lot. Thank you so much for the time. Good luck on Friday, man, and hopefully we can talk to you again soon. Oh, did we lose him? Damian, you there?
No, I'm still here. Sorry, I cut out for a second. Thank you guys for giving me a slot, and I love talking to all you guys. And yes, we do cover a lot.
All right, buddy. Take care, man.
Have a good day.
All right, see ya. Folks, follow him on Twitter at Damian PB Norris. The PB's for Pretty Boy. And folks, we will be right back after this break. We'll talk to Mo Usman, bigger brother of Kamaru Usman. He's also got a fight coming up here in a few weeks. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Shout out to Odin Hodak for lining up Damian Norris. Excuse me.
charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
SiriusXM is now on Amazon Alexa. Just enable the SiriusXM skill, log into your account, and say, Alexa, listen to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM. For more information, visit SiriusXM.com/Amazon Alexa. All right, our next guest of the day goes by the name of Mohammed Usman. We'll be calling him Mo throughout the interview. And his sibling is Kamaru Usman. Mo is 2-0 in his professional record, and he will be fighting at Tachi Palace 33, and it's coming up here in a few weeks. Joining us now on the hotline is Mo Usman. How you doing, Mo? Nice to meet you.
I'm doing good, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
Awesome. We love the fact that you come from a football background. We're huge football fans over here. I guess the little problem we might have is we're big USC guys. You're an Arizona boy, so, you know, once per year we'll have to beef a little bit. But other than that, we're really excited to have you on.
Oh, man. Thank you, man. And bear down. You already know, man. Arizona for life.
Hey, did you play around the time of Gronkowski?
Actually, he left. Gronkowski's a little before my time. I want to say 2 years before I got there. Gronkowski left, but you know he came back all the time, and I got plenty of chats with him. And he's a great guy.
That's awesome, man. All right, so you know, like I said, football. I mean, you seem, from what you know, the interviews that I read, it seemed like even though you were playing football, you still had, I guess that fighter DNA inside of you. Did you know that at some point in time you could be an MMA fighter, or was there really did that only open up when you know you took football as far as you could?
You know, once my brother started fighting, you know, when I was training for the draft in 2013, and I went out to his very first fight in Nebraska, I kind of built my own love for it, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you know you got siblings to fight and other people that fight, you're going to always feel any type of way. But once you develop your own love for the sport, you know, like I actually enjoy watching MMA because it's a competitive sport, you know? It's very competitive. It's action-packed, and you can't, like, turn your eyes away for a minute. You know what I mean? You have to watch the whole fight from the beginning to start. So I just kind of grew from there, and yeah, man, I took football as long as I could, and once it got to a point where it's just so political, and I felt like I was running for president, I was like, you know what, man, it's time for me to switch gears and go on to something else.
Mm-hmm. Now, that same article I read, I'll give credit to Bloody Elbow. It was a really interesting article to read. That was about 4 or 5 months ago, but one of the points of the article was that, you know, you and your brother, you're on opposite sides of the country, but you did state that if your brother called you, that you perhaps might move and train more with him. And, you know, his rise, and obviously it's no disrespect to the gyms you're with, but his gym does have a few more of the higher, you know, or better-known athletes like Rashad Evans and Tyrone Sprung that you also referenced in the interview that you could benefit from. Has anything happened since then where you have been able to train with them, or are you guys still kind of on opposite sides of the country?
Yeah, no, my brother was just in town for about 2 weeks, you know, so we got some good training, we got some really, really good training in down here. And it's just where I'm at the point in my career, you know, I'm 2-0. I'm still, you know what I mean? I'm still on the surface of the sport, you know, and I'm still getting my feet wet and building my foundation, you know. And that's one thing that was very important with me. I don't want to go to other places and to all these other gyms and without a foundation. You know what I mean? I want to be able to go to other gyms and be able to just pick off where I left off and just be building, you know. And it's not something where it's like, oh, we got to teach them how to do this and teach them how to do that. You know, I just been building my own foundation and kind of building my own path to the top. You know, I don't want it to be a situation where there's like, oh, he's training where his brother is, so now he's, you know what I mean? So I'm not that guy. I've never been that guy, and I feel like this sport is so crazy that all these coaches, they all teaching the same thing, you know. And I've seen them all. I've been around a lot of them, and you know, it's really who you want to be around, who you want to learn from. Because all these coaches are saying the same thing. There's a million coaches that want to teach me how to wrestle. teach you Muay Thai, teach you Jiu-Jitsu. It's at the end of the day, is who you feel comfortable around and who makes you want to go out there and do your best. Not just going out to Florida because they have great coaches or so, or train with a lot of good guys. Because I can go anywhere and train with anybody.
Right.
It's you know what I mean. So it's I like to stay where I'm at. I like my coaches right now. I'm building up my own pedigree of coaches as I'm going to the top. And the thing about my coaches is we're not selfish, and they know I'm an athlete at a high level, and I want to learn as much as I can. So if they say, hey, we want you to go to Jackson Wink, or we want you to go down there to Florida for 2 weeks, there's nothing wrong with that, So, and I have no problems with that. But in the terms of me completely going to go train with somebody else and that's it, that's not how I'm, my DNA.
All right, let me send it over to the guys at the Mandalay Bay. Goes and Dan, what do you have for Mo?
Mo, I know you're friends with Francis Ngannou. Is it possible that maybe Las Vegas could be a destination for you to get some training in?
Oh, yeah, for sure. With the UFC Performance Institute out there and all the things they have out there in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a high-level training facility right now. It would be nuts not to go out there to train, and get all that training in that they have out there right now. They're basically just elevating the sport, to a higher level. Basically is what they're doing now in Vegas.
If I were to talk to some of your friends growing up and tell them, yeah, the Usman brothers, they ended up becoming professional fighters, would they go, yeah, that sounds about right, or would that shock people?
Nah, they're like, that sounds about right.
Well, Mo, speaking of your background growing up, that's what I was going to kind of touch on. I mean, obviously, you can see your football experience, and if you dig a little deeper, you'll see that you wrestled as well in high school. And obviously, we've seen people from both of those backgrounds transfer in MMA. I guess my question is, moving from, being Nigerian, going to a place like Texas, the culture shock, I never experienced anything that big. I went from a tropical climate like Hawaii to the desert here in Vegas. But I got to imagine, man, that's got to be a big culture shock, especially as a kid, and kids aren't always the nicest. Was there anything from your childhood that maybe led you down this path as far as being a competitive athlete and now a fighter?
Oh, man, it was definitely a culture shock when me and my two brothers, when my dad first brought us to America. And I even remember when we first started school, we was in ESL classes, trying to get us transitioned, to the American culture almost. And, just basically get us transitioned into American culture. And once we got it, I guess I kind of went through that spell as kids do of, I don't want to say rebel, but I was just making my own decisions and just doing stuff. And when you're a kid and you walk out the classroom without asking for permission to go use the bathroom, you get in trouble. Little things like that. And so I was always getting in trouble for little things like that. It was a little small. And my dad, one day, he just got tired of me getting in trouble. And he was like, he was driving and he saw something that said Pop Warner football. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to put you in this and they're going to beat you up. And then he put me in football, and that was all she wrote because I fell in love with it. It was my natural sport. I was naturally an aggressive athlete, and and that's why basketball and those other sports never worked out for me, even though that I tried out. The coaches were like, "Man, you're too aggressive for this sport, man. You got to just go stick to football and wrestling." And it just kind of grew from there, and I just kind of built my passions up, and I realized that it takes a lot to want to be the best at anything you want to do, because there's so many people that want to play football and get scholarships and make it to college, but only a few do, and the few that do, go that extra mile, it's what you do when people are not watching. It's how you train when people are not watching, when you're not around coaches. What extra are you doing to build yourself up to be at a very high level that other people are dreaming about being, but you're actually doing the things, the steps to be there. And that's the kind of mentality that I'm bringing to this MMA sport, because everybody's learning, everybody's doing the same things, but what are you doing on your own? What are you doing when nobody's looking to put yourself at a very, very high level when people can just be like, wow, and be at all with your abilities? So I take pride in it, man, and I take pride in wanting to be the best in the sport. And I didn't just come in this sport just to win fights, you know what I mean? Because I know I'm going to win. Everybody, at the end of the day, you win, you lose. But I didn't come in the sport just to win fights. I came in the sport to be one of the best in this sport. and that's what I'm going to continue to show.
Mo, thank you for the time. We got to bounce, but it was really a pleasure to talk to you. Good luck at Tachi Palace 33, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon, brother. We really appreciate it. And folks, we will be right back. Oh, for crying out loud, I thought that was it. I was going to try and write out the song because I'm really feeling it. YMCA will never get old.
No,
it's very special in my heart. We actually lip-synced to it in our senior year air guitar concert. But I really thought it was one of those short songs, 2 minutes, and that's it. And I thought that was it. And here they come with another chorus of songs.
I've already getting
the
comments. Wow, Gigi must really love YMCA.
Well, I was actually digging you and Dan, playing along there with the YMCA. But we got to start the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. I want to give some shout-outs on the YouTube chat. At MattV277, he also hates clickbait. Lockdown Defense says, what the hell is this? It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show, fool. That's what it is. It's on every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, shout out to Don Piccolo, a.k.a. Don from Rancho Santa Margarita. And he's also known in certain parts of the OC as Don Cho. Shout out to
also
Caleb.
Don Chow.
MMA says, I'm about to try and call. Well, we've been waiting.
Gotcha.
Unless you're Marco from Waco, you haven't about tried hard enough. Because Marco from Waco's on hold, and I believe that's it. We'll get to him, and then we also got to get to Rob Font. What's up, Marco from Waco? What's up?
Marco from Waco, yeah, that dude better to start dialing after I hang up. Because, that is how you become a caller in MMA Junkie.
Exactly.
Something to the Mohammed Usman. I like that kid, man. I don't know, he got a spark, man.
Yeah,
hopefully
he
goes
does.
far.
That's a good point that you made. This is a guy that's 2-0. He'll be fighting Tachi Palace. I don't believe they're televised. I was looking for that. But you can just tell, there's rumors of possible Dana White Contender Series, or who knows if they ever have another round of heavyweights on top. But you're right, Marco. In talking to him, he just, aside from him being Kamaru Usman's brother, one of the top welterweights in the world, you can just tell he was interesting. He was. You want to learn more about the kid, so that I have to commend him for that, and shout out to Ed Cap for lining that up.
Yeah, happy birthday to Max, Jack Russell Terrier. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And when it comes to Chris Cyber, I have a love-hate relationship with her because, for a while I was off the bandwagon, then I got in the bandwagon, and now all this crap about the USADA, man, she should be the last one to talk because once, a long time ago, she tested positive for the steroids, and then she got that retroactive use abstention. That wasn't on the open up, and a lot of people were raising their eyebrows about the diuretics that she took. So, Chris need to keep her mouth shut. They made the division, the 145 division, for her. It wasn't for Holly Holm. It wasn't for Jermaine Durandami. They made it for her. She got what she wanted. She got a shiny belt. Played a little ball, and maybe things will go better, man. Or change your management because somebody's not telling you the right things that you need to hear in your ear. Jesus Christ, they put you in a... Remember they put her 45,000 people up in Brazil for her debut in the UFC? So what else you want, man? Hopefully they get it figured out. Peace out, guys.
There you have it. Marco put it about as good as he can put it. I just don't know that she's really in that position to say anything. Really, she's frustrated because she's probably getting tested a lot more than she would like to. Okay, she has been clean for 5 years. That happened 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And she's passed everything since then, and we commend her for that. But the fact remains, it happened, and therefore, people will always believe that she should get these multiple types of tests. Holly Holm has never had a problem. So it really doesn't need to be same amount of tests from here on out until that fight. If that's her wish, sure, okay. It's her right to go out there and say it, but I don't know that it's really helping her. And she's such a destructive force. And really, if you get to know Chris and you hear her interviews, she's really fun and cool to listen to, and has a good head on her shoulders. And a lot of people really, really do like her. But it's just these flare-ups that happen from time to time on social media that are just so unnecessary. I really don't get it. I really don't get it. They don't seem to really help her too much as far as her popularity goes. And I think she wants to be liked. I think she enjoys being liked. And I think people like liking her. All right, we have our next guest ready to go. His name is Rob Font. He is 14-2 overall in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He's 4-1. He has won his last 2 fights, and he's headed to Brazil for UFC Fight Night 119, where he'll meet Pedro Munoz. That takes place on October 28th The card's headlined by Lyoto Machida versus Derek Brunson. In the main event feature, you got Colby Covington versus Damian Maia. Joining us now on the hotline is Rob Font. What's up, Rob? How you doing?
Well, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. We were running into you every Tuesday there during the summer, but at some point you had to get back, buckle down, and put in a camp. How did things go, man?
Yeah, man. You know, I had to get out of Vegas, man. Vegas is too much for me, but everything's going great, man. Camp's going great. I feel great. You know, we last time I was on here, you know, we wanted the Pedro Munoz fight, and you know, we asked for it and we got it.
Yeah, that's great, man, because he's you know, a ranked athlete, and of course you gotta always continue to shoot for the guys on top and take their spot. But while you were out in Vegas, were you able to take advantage of the UFC PI, that Performance Institute, and get some rounds in there at all?
Not really. I mean, obviously I checked it out. I was there, but I didn't get to really work. Every time I was out there, I was really helping, not corner people, but helping people get ready for the fights. And so we mainly stayed in the hotels and did all that. But I'm definitely trying to get back out there after this fight.
Mm-hmm. Now, the performance of the night, that you got in the Silva D'Andrade fight. That money, would you say it was more allocated towards personal, or did you reinvest it in your own career? Like, by that I mean, training elsewhere or bringing in training partners. A lot of athletes tend to do that, and some tend to leave it for, homes or cars or vacations. How did you allocate that dough?
I think I spent most of it playing golf. I'm not gonna lie. I do a lot of private training with a lot of different guys as far as jiu-jitsu and striking. So I do reinvest it as far as monthly payments for these privates.
Gotcha.
With my jiu-jitsu coach and then my striking coach. So I do that. But most of it went to helping out with my mother and obviously just went to the bank. But hopefully this one I can after this fight and hopefully I get a bonus. We can finally get a house I've been trying to get in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. You've gotten a couple of those, and I know this last one helped you out a lot. How often do they reside in your mind as far as what you're getting paid to show, what you're getting paid if you win? Are you one of those guys that kind of tends to think about that bonus as well?
I do. I'm not gonna lie. I do. I know, if I can push a little harder, I know, that bonus is there. So I'm not gonna lie. But I'm just worried about the fight. I know, it's $50,000 in line. I got to put on a show, and so it could be a bad thing, could be a good thing. I'm not sure. We'll find out. I was asking Joe Lozon about that the other day because I've been training with him for the last year and a half, 2 years, and he says he doesn't think about it, but it's kind of weird how he bonuses so many times, but he doesn't think about it. So hopefully, if I stop thinking about it, they'll keep coming.
Yeah, not a bad strategy, and you're right. I think he holds the record with Nate Diaz. He's up there with Anderson Silva, and those guys have made some good loot doing that. So that's the right guy to pick his brain. Now, I was seeing that Pedro Munoz has never been finished. He's got a decorated jiu-jitsu game, and of course, a lot of your wins have come via submission. So might have to shoot for that fight of the night, or just put it on his chin, Rob Font. Maybe take home $50,000 that way too.
Yeah, man. If I can, pull out something on my ass and throw a flying triangle or something, on Pedro Munoz, the black belt in Brazil, that'd be huge, man. They would have to give it to me, So obviously, we want to keep the standing and do our thing there. But if it hits the ground and I'm on top, I'm gonna fill it out and see where it goes. Obviously he's dangerous. He has that nasty guillotine. He's a veteran. He's been fighting for a while. Not for a long time, but he's got a lot of quality fights. He's made a debut versus Rafael Santos. He's fought Rivera. He's fought a lot of tough guys. He's been in a lot of wars. So he's a great opponent, and hopefully I can get that submission.
Now, something that happens when I visit the gyms here in Vegas, mostly the Extreme Couture gym, is a lot of times they like to go over a technique where they, something that was of note on a previous weekend. And since we are talking about submissions, what do you think of that mighty armbar, Demetrius Johnson, that he hit there in his last fight, his title defense against Ray Borg? And you being a submission guy, obviously liking to try new tricks, you're very athletic. Have you messed around with your training partners and given that a shot? That seemed to be a really eye-opener for a lot of people.
Of course, man. Of course. The first thing I did Monday morning, man, it was out there trying to suplex guys and then throwing in the armbar. You had to. Like, that was amazing. Like, I didn't even believe, when it happened, I couldn't believe it happened. Like, holy shit, he really did that. And then, obviously, we watched it, replayed it, watched all the, Instagram and YouTube videos and, played around with it in the gym for sure. But, I picked a couple of the lighter guys up and started playing with it. But that was amazing. Shout out to him.
That's awesome. Rob Font, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. I'm going to send it over to the boys at the Mandalay Bay. Goes and Dan, what do you have for Rob Font?
Rob, you got 2 straight wins, and they're both finishes. How addicting is not only getting the win, but getting that finish?
It's the biggest part of why I do this. I like to put guys away, and there's no question of who won the fight. You can't go back and forth. Well, he won this round, I won this round. No, there's nothing better than putting a guy away, either making him tap or obviously watching their eyes go back in the head when you put your hands on them. So I'm always hunting for it. I do have a problem sometimes, not sometimes, but when I first started, of trying too hard to get the finish. But instead of letting it come to me, and I think I did a great job of that my last fight. So hopefully, I get out there. I don't push it too hard, but I'm always looking for the finish. And if I don't get the finish, it's kind of like, okay, we get the W, but I know there's always opportunities for a finish, and I just got to make sure to jump on them.
You two have identical records. Have you ever looked at his road to where you guys are at now, and as compared to maybe yours?
You know what? I was actually supposed to fight him. I'm not. We were. It was. So I believe it was the RFA. I just had won the CES title at 45, and it was funny. I was at Wild Wings, Buffalo Wild Wings, eating and watching a couple of the fights, drinking a beer, eating wings, and the promoter for RFA, I can't remember his name or anything like that, but he Facebook messaged me asking me if I wanted to fight Pedro Munoz for their 135 belt. At the time, I was still fighting at 45. There's no way I'm making 40. I'm 35. And like I said, I was sitting there drinking a beer, eating wings at the same time. He's something back and forth messaging. So I knew about him. Obviously, I started watching him, and it's funny because he actually kind of got the ball rolling with me going down to 35 and fighting. And so I'm not too familiar about his older fights as far as past then, because I didn't really think too much of it. But obviously, he's always been on my radar. You know what I'm saying? Coming into UFC, I knew eventually we'd end up getting this fight.
Oh, well, that's good to know, Rob. I guess my question is also on the same along the same lines as Pedro Munoz. You look at Pedro Munoz's fight against Russell Doan, that's it. You see how opportunistic he is with his submissions and his guillotine variations. You said you were training for the past 1.5 or 2 years with Joe Lozon. I can't imagine a better training partner when it comes to opportunistic submissions. Is there anything in particular? Can you speak to how your game has grown? Maybe you might not be able to show it if you're dictating terms like you want to in this fight, but do you feel like your game has grown over this time with Joe?
Oh, definitely. And like I said, that guy jumps on anything, anytime, anywhere. He's always looking for submission. So I roll with him on at least 3 days a week. So I'm always getting that type of pressure. Another thing is I think he has one of the most underrated mats in New England. There's a lot of killers there that are just like him. They train just like him. They know all his tricks and they pull it out. So not only that, all his younger guys were just always jumping on me with guillotines, heel hooks, wrist locks, whatever they can jump on, they'll jump on. So I'm always having that type of pressure. So, I definitely, we don't want to sit there and play around with, Pedro the whole time on the ground. It's not going to be one of those fights where, all right, let's keep it here. But if I see something, I'm going to jump on it just like Joe would.
Awesome. I guess one more question from me, Rob, is that, last time you were in Brazil, UFC 198 against John Lineker. Is there anything in particular that you could share, that might be different? Anything you want to change, I guess, is the question from your last experience there, other than the result, obviously, but as far as your prep and approach, anything you could change or are looking to change on this trip to Brazil as opposed to your last one?
Only thing we're going to really change is going out there a little earlier and just I want to go out there and have fun. That last fight I didn't have fun. The whole week, fight week, I wasn't having fun. I don't know if it sounds weird or not. Like, I almost took it too serious. I made it bigger than what it was. You know, I didn't. It was like, okay, I'm in Brazil. You know, fighting John Lineker, I can get ranked after this fight. I took it too serious and wasn't just being myself and having fun and you know, I let the moment get to me. So you know, obviously, go out there, be myself, not try to pretend to, you know, to be anything else but who I am, and like I said, go out there and have fun with it.
There you have it. All right, folks. That's Rob Font, who will be fighting Pedro Munoz at UFC Fight Night 119, and that takes place on October 28th. Great fight card they put together. We've actually caught up with a few of the fighters on that fight card, and Rob, on the main card, you're one of 4 matchups that feature Brazil versus USA. Colby Covington already told us he's going to be sporting some red, white, and blue. So I don't know if you're going to bring Old Glory or something, because the Brazilians are going to come at you. They're going to be telling you you're going to die and shit like that. So like you said, have fun with it. Maybe flash some red, white, and blue right back at them. No middle fingers, because you don't want to disqualify yourself from a bonus, or grabbing the crotch. I think Kevin Lee did that one as well. So you can have a little bit of fun, but don't get too nasty, because again, you don't want to rule yourself ineligible for the bonus. But give them some USA love back from us. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man, my man. Definitely. Hopefully, I'll see you guys back in Vegas soon.
All right. Thanks for the time, brother. Take care. Safe travels.
My man. Thank you, guys.
All right, later. All right, folks. We're going to take a break here. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll talk to former professional boxing champion, current MMA fighter, Anna Julaton. She will be fighting at Bellator 185 on Friday night. So we're anxious to catch up with her. Her opponent that night will be Lisa Blaine. Stay close, folks. We'll be right back.
King Kong has a lot of shit on them. Like a lot, especially Goes. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Tomorrow at 3 Eastern, Sirius XM brings you a pair of games from Soccer's Champions League. Here, Olympiacos face Barcelona on Fox Sports. on SiriusXM Channel 83. Celtic takes on Bayern Munich on SiriusXM FC Channel 85. Don't forget, Manchester United back in Champions League. We'll feed you all that information, including where you can catch them on television if you find yourselves at home tomorrow. It starts, I believe, at 11:45, if I'm not mistaken, versus Benfica from Portugal, and I believe Fox Sports on television has that. So I guess some of the smaller clubs sometimes just wind up on radio. But if you're in your car, we got you covered. FC 83 and FC 85. All right, joining us now on the hotline is Anna Julaton, who will be fighting Lisa Blaine at Bellator 185 on Friday. Spike TV has you covered with a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. She's featured on the main card. The prelims, of course, as always, can be checked out on MMA Junkie, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. On the hotline now is Anna Julaton. What's up, Anna? How you doing? Anna, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Man, I was trying to call you guys earlier, and it was just busy, like, nonstop. I felt like I was trying to win tickets for a concert or something like that, and I'm like, I can't get through.
And that's just
what
the
concert
females
would you have
trying
wanted to
get
win tickets to?
I wouldn't mind going to a Kendrick Lamar or, gosh, I forgot the guy's name already. 'Cause he's playing there. Like, he has a Bruno Mars. There you go. Like, his tickets are insane.
He's in Vegas?
He has a residency.
I know he... Oh, he is he? I didn't know. I just know he's supposed to be playing there pretty soon.
Him and Ricky Martin, Cher, and one more person. They do that, the Park Theater now. So they swap like every month or something like that.
Nice.
Why do him and Ricky Martin share, though? Why can't just one of them have exclusive?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anna, excuse me. Have we been pronouncing your name Anna mistakenly when it's really Anna? Just clear that up for us, please.
No, well, it's funny because I answer by both, but if I want to get technical with it, so my whole name is Luciana. That's how it's pronounced, and so if I were to cut it in half, it would be pronounced Anna or Luciana. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm supposed to be called Luciana, so just for short, Anna. You guys were trying to call me Anna Banana earlier. I heard that, but I'll respond to either.
And if you want to get more technical, a taxi Luciana Bonifacio Julaton, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Do each of these names, like Luciana or Bonifacio, are they a tribute to anybody from another generation, or what do they mean?
Yeah, well, I was named after my grandmother, Luciana.
Okay. I love that name.
Thank you. And Bonifacio, it's obviously my mother's maiden last name, but it's a very famous name in the Philippines. He's like one of the heroes for the Philippines. There's an actual day that goes for Bonifacio. His name is Andres Bonifacio, and he was a big revolutionary for the people of the Philippines. So it's it's pretty cool to be able to tag my name with that. And whenever I go to the Philippines and they talk about my fights and stuff like that, I always get tagged with that hero. So yeah. But and Julaton, here's a funny story for you. I remember training at Wildcard Gym, and Manny was getting ready to spar, and he's pretty jovial, but he looks at me and he's like, Julaton. And then in Visaya, it's a dialect from the Philippines, Julaton means to wait. So yeah, it's kind of a funny joke there. Like, we were all giggling about it. They're like, hey, let's wait on Anna, for my last name. So, nice. So yeah.
I got you there. All right. How tight did you and Manny ever become? Like, obviously you're aware of when he fights. Was he always keeping track of you in boxing, and did that ever go into MMA as well?
I remember in the beginning of it, when I first got in the Wildcard Gym, like he knew who I was, the Filipino community and all the TV networks. They were supporting my cause, because back then when I was a boxing amateur, they didn't invite women to the Olympics. So they would always talk about my fights and things like that, and it was pretty cool. Like, when I was over there at Wildcard training with Manny, he would just be the role model that he is to me. He was always like the bigger brother. But he was supposed to, well, he got me on the card when he was fighting against Antonio Barrera for the second time. There was a fallout, though. I made it onto the scale. My opponent didn't. You know, I was supposed to jump in and be a part of that whole program. But, like, I'm sure you guys understand how it works in the combat sports industry. There's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of moving parts that goes on. So if Manny says, yeah, I want Anna on the fight card, more times than not, it may or may not happen, mainly because there's so many different things that need to go on in order for a fight to get produced. But yeah, as of late, I'm not sure. Like, I haven't really gotten to see him, mainly because I've been training out there in Las Vegas. I've been doing my own thing and stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if on his next fight, if he ends up having a rematch against Horn, we'll pass by Wildcard Gym and you know, it'll be like old times. I'll just sit there and watch and just study.
Well, hopefully, one way or another, word gets out to him that you're fighting on the Bellator card, on Spike, and that he can watch you, you know, and support you. At least by watching.
I wouldn't be surprised if he like ends up finding out about it, because I'm not sure if he's in the Philippines or if he's in Macau or whatnot. But I just found out today that, because I'll be going to ESPN studios tomorrow, and they want me to do a promo. So I guess TV5, which is in the Philippines, I did a fight with them for one of my title defenses. They teamed up with ESPN, so there's ESPN Philippines now, and they want me to do a promo there. So I'm pretty excited about that. There's like all this global interest and stuff with me in the fight game.
Luciana Julaton joining us here. Just kidding. Anna Julaton joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio. She'll be fighting Lisa Blaine at Bellator 185. Now, to be clear, because you have a new contract that you signed with them, this is MMA, and then what's next? Boxing, or are you strictly MMA with only boxing being there if you need it? Like not oppressive, but you know, how strict is the contract, and where are you going to be featured more?
Well, first off, Bellator allowed me to do both, but they get rights to the scheduling. So if there's a card that they want me to be on, I have to make sure that I have to surround my whole lifestyle to that. And they spoke with my boxing promoter, Alan Tremblay, so they understand each other and what each other needs. But in terms of like boxing, Alan's trying to set something up by the end of the year. Hopefully it'll be with Showtime and with a possible opponent that you guys are familiar with. And, again, there's a lot of moving parts to making fights happen. So I'll tell you what, there won't be any problems on my end in terms of like having something set up. But as of right now, I'm focused on Friday. I got some work to do, and hopefully we can do something in the ring later on this year.
Were you able to reacquaint yourself with Ricky Lundell? Like, will he be a part of your coaching staff, or have you put together a new coaching staff?
My coaching staff it's a lot different. Definitely learned a lot from being in the wrestling room, being under Ricky, but I just for me, and to understand who I am, and to also know, just to take all the experiences that I had in the past is quite different than anyone I'm going to go and talk to. So, with that said, I evolved with, just sticking with my boxing coach and my current MMA coach, Angelo Reyes, and I was able to, pick the brains. I got to move around with Frank Mir and his daughter, Isabella Mir, and I've gotten to also just work alongside with some other really cool, jiu-jitsu people, where now, it's nice to have a fundamental understanding of the wrestling game, but also knowing the difference between the wrestling jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu, like pure jiu-jitsu, versus jiu-jitsu for MMA. So I have people again like Frank Mir, and I'm flying in one of my other guys. His name is Ren Fujishige. He's a brown belt for Sidney Silva. And the thing that I really appreciate most about working with someone like a Ren is that he was able to just teach, just basically break down the fundamentals and just have me work on things that, from what I'm starting to understand too, when I watch MMA fights, the difference between, the two, whether it's BJJ with no gi, BJJ with gi, and there's and it was fun to go through that aspect of it because I saw a lot of similarities from BJJ to boxing, and so it was a great learning experience, and I feel like I was able to utilize myself, and I was able to increase or be more effective, more time efficient in terms of understanding what I'm doing and then repping it out. So it's a long time coming, and I tell you what, the past couple of years has just been amazing with me, just getting into boxing, getting into wrestling, stepping away from it, and going back into my roots, and now just having everything else incorporate itself where I feel like I have something completely different that people haven't seen in my last 4 MMA fights.
Goes and Dan Tom, what do you have for Anna Julaton?
Anna, when you look at the perspective from other mixed martial artists, more so your opponents, do you feel like they look at you as a boxer who dabbles in MMA, or do you feel like they look at you as a true mixed martial artist?
To be honest, I feel like a lot of people just see me as a boxer stepping into the cage. And I kind of want that. I kind of like that. If you look at any of my social media, I don't post a lot of my martial arts background because for those who only know me as a boxer, they also need to know that I started martial arts since I was 10. I feel like I was able to achieve a world title in boxing in 2 years because of my martial arts discipline, and it's pretty neat to have that, as my pocket aces. And so even though I'm talking about this, it's such a loaded idea, such a loaded statement that there's so much right behind it. Like earlier today, I'm over here in Uncasville at the Mohican Sun, and I got to talk with some of the Bellator staff and some of the OGs that's in there, and it's really nice to actually hear a lot of their perspective because they've been around in the game for a long time. I didn't realize Scott Coker, who is the father of women's MMA, he was the same guy who started out women's kickboxing back in the 90s. And I pulled out some names like Kathy Long, Ramona Gatto, people I used to follow, people I used to watch, and they were all a part of it. They built the foundation for women's fighting, and so but yeah, I kind of lost sight of what you originally asked, but yeah, today has just been a nonstop day. It's been an educational day, just knowing exactly who I'm working for in Bellator, and I'm just so excited.
No, you did answer the question. The question was just how they envision you, and you said you believe most people do see you as a boxer. But let me ask you this though: in talking to the people at Bellator's been kind of spreading their wings a little bit, and they've been going overseas. Was there any talks about maybe going to the Philippines at some point?
I didn't bring it up. They didn't bring it up. I'm actually more excited to fighting back home. My hometown's over in the Bay Area, and I actually won my first world title at the SAP Center, which they had one of their last fights there recently, and so I'm more excited about that. I mean, I'm not trying to, take things for granted. I mean, I was lucky enough to fight in the Philippines already, but my sights right now is just going back home and to bring back the community, to bring out my people, to come out and actually watch me fight live again. Because the last time I fought here in the United States was 2011. I defended my WBO world title there, and after that, I went on a whole world tour, just fighting in Mexico, Canada, Argentina, the Philippines, the Middle East. And so it's nice to actually have a homecoming in the near future.
Anna, we had a guest earlier talking about building a foundation in the sport, and obviously you've already been working. You spoke on your wrestling foundations and how you've built upon those. But where do you see yourself in your career? For example, there's headlines and talks of a potential maybe match between you and Heather Hardy, and not only is there you have Asian Pacific Islander background, you have the boxing angle, and you also of course have the women's MMA angle, all different angles which can be taken in MMA, but you obviously have a lot to work with aside from your obvious skill as a martial artist. Do you kind of just want some bigger fights faster, or would you kind of want to work your way there? What's your own perspective if you could write the book on how you want to go?
Well, see, in this industry, things can happen on the fly. Like, things are moving fast. The rise of women's MMA, especially out here in the United States, it's going bananas. I mean, Bellator opening up the division 125, and they're finally going to crown a champion later on this year. So for me, it's all exciting because it's opportunities I didn't even have, just 5 years ago. This is a new playing field, new business opportunities, and it's something that I definitely want to exploit. In terms of having, a fight against other potential big names, that's the name of the game. Ali wouldn't be Ali if he didn't fight Joe Frazier or George Foreman. Sugar Ray Leonard wouldn't be Sugar Ray Leonard if he didn't fight Roberto Duran and Tommy Hearns I'm so sorry. His name, Marvin Hagler. You know what I mean? So, in order for women to really make it in this sport, they can't just be excited about the opportunity. They need to have direction. So if I'm not gonna, if a fight between me and Heather Hardy, or if I don't get a title shot or another big namer in the flyweight roster, it'd just be ridiculous. It's an opportunity lost. So I just kind of feel like people need to get over themselves, and they can't duck anyone or anything like that, because in this fight game, you got to take chances. When I won my first world title, I only had like 7 fights, and my opponent was considered a legend in my division, and she had like 50 fights. So in order for anyone to make it big in this industry, you got to go for it. I mean, there was that one MMA fighter that fought Floyd Mayweather, and look at him now. He's sitting there pretty with $100 million in his bank account. So again, the fight sports, it's not forgiving. Not everyone can endure it, and you got to take your opportunities. You got to go fight, and you have to fight on the biggest stage. And so once other people, especially in my division, realize that, then we can actually make something great, especially since the rise of women's MMA is coming up, and it's rising up really fast. Everyone needs to be on their A game for the business aspect of it. And so, I'm here to take, and if they're not willing to take over, if I'm going to be the lone wolf, then so be it. But at the same time, too, I'm like trying to call these other people out just to kind of wake them up and say, hey, stupid, wake up a little bit. You got to understand how the fight game goes. I mean, if you're in the fight game, how much are you committed? Do you even know the history of it? Do you understand the business aspect of it? Or are you just in there to fight? If you're in there to fight, that's great and all. You can stay into amateurs, because the amateurs will always have an opponent for you. But if you want to be a professional fighter, understand the difference. Know how to make this work. Make this into a career. What's going to be next after this fight coming up? What does it mean? What is it going to lead into? You know what I mean? And so that's where I'm at, and that's where, that's where I'm really excited with fighting with Bellator, especially with the people who created the foundation for women's fighting. I mean, gosh, I was lit up today. I was just on fire. I was getting goosebumps, and I was sweating because I'm hearing all these stories, and a lot of stories I can relate to, because these are the same people who did all the Strikeforce fights. And I'm over there in the Bay Area, and I remember spending my weekends going over there and just stepping into the arena. It was larger than life. And so it's really cool to see how everything just panned out for me. Certain stars are aligning and dots are connecting, and it's definitely a market that needs to take sight and get taken over.
Anna, one thing I'd like to see is, I don't see it much in women's MMA. I really want to see a fight end with a liver shot. So I know you have it in your arsenal. And
wait, with the hand or knee or kick?
No, with the hands.
So many ways to win. Okay.
Yeah, with the hands. I've been watching a lot of your videos. I know you did some media up in the Bay Area. I know you've done some in Vegas, and you'll be doing some on tomorrow, like you stated. But like I say, in women's MMA, I haven't seen that body shot be, I guess, utilized as much as the men have. But yes, I am talking more about the hands. So hopefully you can dig one in there. It doesn't have to end the fight, but maybe cause some damage. You know what I mean?
Oh man, yes. See, this is where I can relate with you, because having a beautiful body shot is so hard to do. Like it's a craft, it's an art that's kind of lost. Whether it's in boxing or even in MMA, like not every boxer understands the idea of how effective body punching is. So wow, so that's something that I would definitely like to aspire to. I don't know if you caught it when, I probably can't say his name because he's with the competing brand. But anyway, did you watch DJ's last fight? You had to have watched DJ's last fight.
Yeah, Demetrius Johnson, of course.
Did you notice that one when one sequence, I forget what round it is, but he was doing like some grappling and he was moving around on the ground. When he stood up, he went right for a body shot. Like that was his first go-to, and I thought that was so beautiful, just to have the articulation or that leg dexterity of having the footwork while you're on the ground, standing right back up, and instead of throwing a jab, you saw an opening for a body shot. Like I don't know, that right there is just so prominent in my mind. I'm thinking, gosh, just to even have that type of control, physically and mentally, to even deliver a shot like that. I mean, it didn't end the fight, obviously, but just to even just do something like that, I thought, it just blew my mind. But yeah, having a body shot in women's boxing, I mean, obviously, or women's MMA, is definitely something that I've been working on, and it's something that's totally not utilized, and I believe is not a common thing that's being taught in a lot of MMA schools or even boxing schools. So yeah, if I end up getting one, I'm going to dedicate it to you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, we look forward to your fight on Friday night. Hope you have a nice, safe weight cut. And, of course, show them skills off on Friday night. Bellator 185, 9 p.m. Eastern Start Time, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. And thank you so much, as always, for fitting us in your schedule, Anna.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for the time. And, guys, please don't miss it. I'm the second fight. I'm going to be the second fight. And right after that is going to be the other girl's fight. So keep your eyes out for it and just go on social media, talk about it. Because, yeah, having a fight between me and Heather, I mean, if that's something that's not going to happen, it'll be foolish. It'll be an opportunity missed. Unless you want to wait like another 5 years, kind of like what we did with Pacquiao Mayweather, or another 10 years. That might be a little bit too late for me. I might have set sail and got into something completely different. I might be coaching the next person who might want to knock out Heather Hardy. But look for that fight. Please watch it. I'm the second one coming up, and thank you so much, MMA Junkie. I appreciate all the support.
Okay,
good luck,
take care, Anna. Thanks for the time.
Anna.
All right, bye.
Shout out to the coach, Angela Reyes, for lining that one up. And, folks, we're going to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93.
was a teenage wedding and the old folks wished him well.
To link into the MMA Junkie Radio Network, hit us up on Twitter.com at MMA Junkie Radio. This is MMA Junkie Radio. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
866-522-2846 is the number to call in if you'd like to participate in the show. Shout out to Human Moron on the YouTube channel. That's his name. That's his name. I'm not clowning. Shout out to Chasm Anwar on the Facebook chat along with Tony Clark. Chasm actually brought up UFC 15, MMA History Today. So on his own, he was able to do some research. And our friends at MMA History Today, just like you hear it at MMA History Today, have also posted here. So Danny, take it from here. What happened in mixed martial arts history on today, October 17th, the same day as Max the JRT's birthday?
20 years ago today, so 6 years before Max was born, Randy Couture knocked out Vitor Belfort and gave him his first career loss in that fight.
That's right.
Great.
So those guys have mixed it up a few times. That's what a lot of people don't know. And this was back UFC 15, so that was basically the new era of fights. And I'm not even sure that Belfort was even Vitor Belfort just yet. He was Vitor Gracie, I think, for an event or two. But, I think a lot of people, because of the damage that Belfort was doing, expected him to just blast Randy Couture, especially if the fight remained on the feet. And Vitor Belfort lost that fight. Randy Couture won the fight, and he also won it. Won that stand-up, that they had between the two of them through a majority of that fight. It definitely put Randy into the trajectory of being an all-time great, being a guy that was evolving. Randy came from a Greco wrestling background, but he actually, in a UFC title eliminator, defeated Vitor Belfort via TKO strikes. Now, also at the same time, you had to note that cardio had something to do with it.
Big time.
And just overall toughness. A lot of times, a lot of Brazilian fighters that come from jiu-jitsu backgrounds get tabbed as front runners. If things are going great, they'll fucking put it on you. But the minute you can withstand, their first, whether that first storm or that first onslaught, sometimes you can break them. I think this was the case on October 17th, 1997, UFC 15. Randy Couture went on to beat Vitor Belfort. He was 3-0 at that point, and that same night, I believe, they also had a title defense, and that was Maurice Smith when he had defeated Tank Abbott. So he was the heavyweight champion that was his title defense at that time. So I'm trying to kind of put things in perspective of what was happening around that time. Mark Kerr was winning a tournament that night as well. The wrestlers were really, really doing damage. Coleman, Couture, Kerr. Remember Tom Erickson back in the days, the Big Cat?
Yeah. Yep, Big Cat Tom Erickson.
Yeah. And new shows were popping up. Extreme Fighting, Pride, of course. It was some great times back then, but that's what a card was like back then, man. You only had, let me see, alternate bouts: Alex Hunter versus Harry Moskowitz, Dwayne Kaysen versus Houston Dorr, and then on the pay-per-view it was Kerr defeating Greg Stott, Benito defeating Carlos Barreto.
Wow.
Mark Kerr then defeated Dwayne Kaysen in the finals. Kaysen moved up from the alternates because Benito couldn't continue. And then you had the heavyweight super fight of Couture versus Belfort and the heavyweight championship Smith versus Tank Abbott. So that's what a fight card was like back then. There wasn't 12 fights.
Yep.
There wasn't like fucking, Facebook prelims or FX or Fox Sport, nothing like that, man. This was what it was, and that's what they put together, and then you had to wait 2-3 more months for another card. You were gonna say something, guys?
No.
I was going to just add real quick, if anybody didn't go back and watch or looking for something to go back and watch, this Belfort versus Couture fight, maybe because I'm a Randy Couture mark, guys, but it's one of my favorites. It's a real classic one. It's one of the first fights where you'll see Randy, who is notorious for breaking guys down in the clinch. This is like the first fight that came about to age. And in fact, Randy Couture is actually wearing shoes in this fight. That kind of gives you the era where they were at UFC 15. Randy Couture actually had shoes on during this bout.
Yeah, that's true. That's crazy, man. They didn't have rounds. They didn't have certain rules. You could wear shoes. You could have 7 people in your corner or your wife in your corner. I mean, you saw some bizarre things back in the day, but that's the leather helmet stages. I mean, show me the first days of boxing, baseball, NFL. You know, the leather helmets that we talk about. It's true, man. They wore leather helmets, and now look at some of the helmets. How much they protect you, protect your brain now. The face mask back in the day, Joe Theismann, you don't even have to go back to like the 30s or 40s or 50s for that one. In 1970, 1980, Joe Theismann, NFL quarterback, would wear one bar like a kicker right across his face. And now these quarterbacks are, they can barely be touched in practice, barely be touched in the games, and they're fully protected. So that's just the way it is, man. Sports evolve. I want to thank all of our guests for today. From start to finish, it was Damian Norris, Oren Hardick. Thank you very much for lining that up. Mohammed, Usman, and Rob Font back to back. Thank you, Ed Capt, for lining that up. And Anna Julaton, Angela Reyes got that one for us. Tomorrow we'll be back. We have more guests coming your way on the MMA Junkie Radio Show, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to catch it on Facebook and YouTube, and of course SiriusXM, playing the replays at 8 Eastern p.m. the next day at 8 Eastern a.m. For Danny and Goes and Dan, I'm George. Go out there, be champions.